Welcome to Gameonysus Weekly, your one-stop shop for video game news, keeping up with the biggest stories so you don't have to. I'm your host, Janet Garcia, and today we're talking about Nintendo's online pricing models, FIFA Name Drama, and Fortnite and Among Us officially working together, plus all that Animal Crossing news, of course. All these stories and so much more on today's episode. Starting with Nintendo Switch's online pricing update, interestingly enough, this actually came through the Animal Crossing Direct, where it was sort of unceremoniously tossed in there. So for this, I'm pulling from an article from The Verge. The headline reads, Nintendo Switch Online's N64 and Sega Genesis expansion launches October 25th for $49.99 per year. With the subhead, it'll also include access to the paid Animal Crossing New Horizons DLC, which is why it was again announced in the Animal Crossing Direct, though I do want to get ahead and already say that you can buy the Animal Crossing DLC just on its own separate of this. The article reads, it'll cost $49.99 USD per year for an individual subscription or $79.99 for a shared family membership. The service will officially launch on October 25th. Those prices are a big jump from the regular Switch Online subscription, which costs $19.99 per year for a single membership or $34.99 per year for a family subscription. The Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack subscription tier offers the same benefits as the standard Switch Online service, including online multiplayer, classic NES and SNES games, cloud saves, and other perks. But the Expansion Pack subscription also adds access to other retro titles from the Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis. Today's pricing announcement includes news that the premium subscription service would also bring bundled access to the new paid Animal Crossing New Horizons DLC, which is set to cost $24.99 on its own. At launch, the Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack service will include several of the most popular N64 games, including Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and Mario Kart 64. Additional titles will also be planned for the future, like Banjo-Kazooie, Pokemon Snap, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and Paper Mario. The higher $49.99 per year price point also puts Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack more in line with other major subscription costs from competitors like Sony and Microsoft. PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live Gold both cost $59.99 per year, albeit with fewer perks than Nintendo's retro game offerings. I don't really agree with that secondary sentiment personally, but let's get into the conversation surrounding this article and this news. This is such a big price jump for what this service is, and it really fascinates me. On one hand, I think it's an interesting angle to put in the Animal Crossing DLC in there because it got people like me who saw the N64 and Genesis expansion, saw that it was going to cost more, and immediately said, no, thank you. That was my gut reaction. I'm like, look, I was totally in for it when they said, hey, like, you're getting this extra stuff. But if I need to pay to access that extra content, I personally don't think that's worth it. Because for me, I'm playing personally for Nintendo Switch Online through the family plan so that I have that online access. I have cloud saves. Like, to me, there's no version of this package where I wouldn't at least pay for the base model because I want to be able to go online. The cloud saves are also a nice plus, though having to pay for cloud saves is kind of annoying in itself. But the baseline, like, I have to be there. Even if they took all their retro games away and they're like literally online just costs this much money, I would be there because I have to be to play the games that I want to play in the way that I want to play them. The retro stuff to me is just like, okay, let's give you a little bit more. Let's like create the feeling that you're, you know, getting more than just the stuff you already had for free. Like, oh, we're adding stuff to it. So while I was never really a big fan of the sort of throwback nature of what Nintendo was doing, I'm like, okay, well, you know, there are like games I love on there and like, sure. And I think things like Tetris 99 and the Mario game and those kind of games they toss on there that they make uniquely that you can only access if you have the subscription, or like fun, cool additions. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. Tetris 99, fantastic game. I'm like, this feels appropriate. It's a different method. It's not my favorite method. I wish they had a more modern method, but you know what? It's like, it is solid, you know, and it is fairly affordable. So it's like, okay, cool. But when they're like, okay, we're going to make the service better, but you're going to have to pay for those improvements, and the improvements are just like kind of more retro content. And personally, I've already seen myself not really engage that deeply with the retro content that is available to begin with. There's just so much time, like things going on. Like, I think for some people, if you're really maxing that out, I can see you feeling like you're getting a lot of value for it if you're really just beaming through these games. But other than that person, which is a very specific type of person, there just isn't that excitement or appeal because the cadence is so off. And again, it's retro stuff, so they're already known quantities versus games with gold, PlayStation Plus. I have legitimately found games that I wouldn't have played otherwise, modern games, sometimes even new games in some cases, dropping on those services and being an exciting, enjoyable time. So all of that being said, I think the move to put the Animal Crossing DLC is smart in the sense that it gets someone like me who wasn't interested to sort of pay attention for a hot second, because I'm like, what's the math on this? Is it worth it? I clearly determined for me that it's not, even though the math does sort of shake out the whole, like, if I were to change it over, I would lose the DLC, but turns out you retain some elements of the DLC, even if you lose the DLC. Like, it's just creating complications that I don't personally want to be a part of. And while the money itself isn't that high, it's not so much the money for me as it is the kind of principle of it. Like, and the fact that I'm not going to use it, like, I'm really not going to be utilizing those elements, and I can buy the DLC on its own. So I'm like, look, I'm not going to drag my whole family into paying essentially what's almost double for what we're already paying for. And what I'm already paying for, I haven't really been that satisfied with. Like, I've had moments where I'm like, this is a win, but on the whole, I don't use those retro games. It's not like they're developing a bunch of those kind of exclusive Tetris 99 type games all the time. The cadence is really random. Sometimes the games they add there are really whack. Like, it's been a little bit of a mess. What I don't like about the inclusion of Animal Crossing is it feels like the inclusion of Animal Crossing is really what we're paying for in this jump. Like, the price jump is just so high for what it is. And I feel like that's really unfortunate for the people that aren't interested in Animal Crossing at all, which are plenty of people. I mean, it's a very popular game, but I don't necessarily think bundling the DLC makes sense. It also is very confusing. It sort of sets a weird precedent of like, okay, well, are we going to see more DLC bundled in the future? Maybe, but then also, how often is Nintendo really doing DLC? How often are you actually going to want the DLC for those games? And are they really going to make this like I saw some rumblings going around online about like, oh, what if this was like Game Pass, but like for their DLC, and like maybe there is a world where that financially makes sense. But even if that was the case, are they really going to just keep adding and adding and adding and adding and never increase the price? And if they were to increase the price, how many premium tiers we're going to have? Nintendo Switch expansion pack plus, like how many, if they already charged me extra for adding N64 and Sega Genesis / the Animal Crossing DLC, how many more things are they willing to give away for, not for free, because you still are inherently paying for it, but like you're paying X amount of dollars. Anything they add in, they're just kind of giving away without charging you more inherently, unless they increase the price. So, yeah, I just don't like any of this at all. I'll pay what I need to pay just to use it, but I'm not paying any more than the baseline of what I need to pay with the current model they have set up. That's just how I feel about it personally. So we'll see what updates come to Nintendo Switch Online. And the drama continues with some update on FIFA's name or potential name change. And for this, I'm pulling from Eurogamer's article. FIFA says football gaming must involve more than one party controlling and exploiting all rights, with the subhead following reports negotiations with EA have stalled. The article reads, FIFA has issued a statement following reports its negotiations with EA have hit an impasse, saying it believes football gaming and esports must involve more than one party controlling and exploiting all rights. Earlier this week, a report by the New York Times suggested EA's recent surprise announcement that it was exploring the idea of renaming its longest-running FIFA football game series comes at a time when its license renewal negotiations with FIFA have stalled as the two parties struggle to agree on specifics. And in case people, aren't aware, because maybe you don't have any idea of what's going on in the world of soccer or the inner workings of soccer, FIFA is an organization. FIFA is a real-life organization that exists and licenses out the name to be used in association with the EA soccer game. The article continues, one area of disagreement is said to be financial, with FIFA reportedly looking to more than double the cost of its license to over $1 billion USD for each 4-year World Cup cycle. But the report also claimed EA is keen to explore other avenues using the FIFA license, such as video game tournaments and digital products like NFTs, while FIFA wants to limit the scope of the deal to pursue new opportunities itself. Following that report, a newly issued statement from FIFA has made its position abundantly clear, with the organization saying it believes football gaming and esports needs to be a space that is occupied by more than one party controlling all rights. Technology and mobile companies are now actively competing to be associated with FIFA, its platforms, and global tournaments, the statement reads. Consequently, FIFA is engaging with various industry players, including developers, investors, analysts, to build out a long-term view of the gaming, esports, and interactive entertainment sector. FIFA says these discussions will help provide a range of suitable parties with specialist capabilities to actively shape the best possible experiences and offerings for consumers and fans. Gaming and esports are the fastest growing media verticals on the planet, with new and diverse types of games launching continuously, it says. It is therefore of crucial importance for FIFA and its stakeholders to maximize all future opportunities for football and gaming fans. FIFA also has a duty to support its 211 members association to fully capitalize on the inherent opportunities that have been emerging over the recent years. As part of the strategy, FIFA also commits to continuing to organize skill-based esports tournaments under the umbrella of the recently launched FIFA E competition structure and consumer brand. The organization adds it's excited about using the FIFA World Cup and FIFA Women's World Cup as platforms to launch and integrate exciting new games and esports offerings. For EA's part, a recently spotted trademark filing suggests it could be ready to ditch the FIFA moniker in favor of EA Sports FC for its football games. The publisher has also confirmed it'll be renewing its contract with FIFA Pro, which would enable it to continue using thousands of player names and likenesses alongside various official leaks in order to help it deliver the greatest, most authentic football video game experience. So again, it's definitely more of an issue of like, what is the name going to be rather than is the game going to inherently change, like with them ending on that comment about having the ability to use player likenesses, certain like tournaments and leagues and things, like that's all pretty much set in stone. But yeah, I mean, I think the TLDR of this article is basically FIFA, the organization, is like, whoa, why should EA be getting all of this stuff and at the price that they're currently getting at? You know, they're like, not only is the rate going up, but we're looking to kind of change the terms of service to make it so that we can use FIFA for a lot of things. Like FIFA can be anything. And why shouldn't we be maximizing that for, you know, the most profit we can get and to help spread the sort of brand further of what, you know, FIFA is and what they do and all of that. So, I mean, I feel like losing the FIFA name would be kind of an L for EA because, I mean, I feel like that could potentially hurt their sales, people not knowing what this new FIFA game is, thinking that FIFA is no longer FIFA because it's not called FIFA. At the same time, though, if FIFA, the organization, is looking to expand its usage of the FIFA name anyway, EA could be in a bad spot if, you know, FIFA as a game no longer feels as unique or distinctive as it once did, if it becomes used for a bunch of other things. Maybe that also takes away the impact. Now, it's, you know, totally possible that they're able to, in the negotiations, get as much control over that FIFA name as they currently have, but it seems like FIFA, the organization, is not interested in doing that. They want one, more money for using the name, and two, they want to be able to use the name to more places in association with more things. And I don't think either of those things is going away. They seem pretty set in stone about it. I think the sort of angle of like, why should EA have all this power? Like it should be spread across. On one hand, that sounds very like man of the people, but it's definitely just for them to help, you know, spread their brand and also like make their money. So I don't think they're doing it because they're like, I'm tired of like EA running everything. I think it's more, hey, look around. There's a lot more players than EA. Why should it only be at EA? Why shouldn't we look at other places? Why shouldn't we be doing more with this name? EA Sports FC, it sounds kind of ugly, but I can't think of a better name. I think that's a solid one. I don't know. The thought of being like, I love EA Sports FC. I'm a big EA Sports FC fan. Like, it just doesn't have the cachet that FIFA does. So, I don't know. We'll see. I hope they can keep the name. But on one hand, too, like the longer they keep it, the more they're putting off having to like potentially make a brand shift. So maybe they just want to knock that out and not have to deal with this anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea where this is going to go. I don't really have any predictions for it. I feel like, oh man, it could really go either way. It could really go either way. I'm going to guess the name's going to stay. I hope the name stays. We'll see. And like, it really is just mostly drama this week, which brings us to our next story. Fortnite's Imposters mode inspired by Among Us, Epic Games acknowledges. This comes over from Polygon and is sort of a continuation of that discussion of, you know, Fortnite having that imposter mode and it essentially being like just like Among Us and not kind of acknowledging that. That's sort of finally coming to the forefront, and they're talking about it, and it may be leading to some cool things. So let's get into the article. The article reads, Epic Games said Tuesday that its Fortnite Imposters mode, which is essentially a stylized Among Us remake, is unsurprisingly inspired by developer Innersloth's social deception game. Both Innersloth and Epic Games appear to be teasing a crossover event too. The message is just a quick reference to Among Us as Imposters inspiration, coming in a blog about Fortnite's latest patch notes. But it is important because Epic Games was sharply criticized by Innersloth developers and fans on social media for not originally crediting Imposters inspiration. Also, the mode's name is a direct reference to Among Us's alien infiltrations, which are called Imposters in the game. We didn't patent Among Us mechanics, Innersloth co-founder Marcus Bromander tweeted in August. I don't think that leads to a healthy game industry. Is it really that hard to put 10% more effort into putting your own spin on it, though? Many Among Us fans on social media point to Fortnite and Epic's massive size compared to Innersloth and Among Us's small studio. In reference to Fortnite's new mode, Among Us programmer Adriel Wallach wrote she felt bummed by the Imposters mode. Quote, this was just another fun reminder of how tiny we really are. Innersloth's community director Victoria Tran added that it would have been really, really cool to collab. And then dropping down further in the article, it was updated to add that following the patch notes, Epic Games and Among Us developer Innersloth began teasing a potential crossover. The two developers tweeted at each other, "We never got to talk about how you inspired us," Epic said via the Fortnite account. "What do you think about working on something fun together sometime?" Among Us developer Innersloth tweeted back, "Have your agents contact our crewmates." No words yet on what the crossover may be. And obviously that's a very like publicly on purpose conversation to have. That was like very, very much planned, right? Yeah, this is interesting. I'm surprised to see the official collab. But at the same time, I mean, I think if Fortnite, I don't know who reached out to who, but if Fortnite reached out to Among Us, I think it would be more surprising if Among Us was like, no, thank you. Like if they weren't interested in doing something that kind of puts their game on an even bigger stage. Not that it's, you know, needs necessarily more marketing. I mean, you can always use more marketing for sure. Never enough marketing, but it's a highly successful, extremely played game. Like that game went wild. But I'm so curious internally with, you know, the things going on with Fortnite, how that sort of came to be. I do feel like it probably was as a result of some pressure from the developers and social pressures to like, okay, well, maybe if we kind of get in front of this and acknowledge this and work together, it doesn't have to be like this sort of slimy thing. Obviously, it would have been cool if it was done probably before or like orchestrated a little bit better. I mean, it's very clear that this thing was made and they didn't talk to the developers about it. At the same time, like the Among Us developers themselves kind of said like, hey, like, it's like we own this, but like they felt like it was still too samey. Like it's sort of a complicated spot for everything. But hopefully this crossover is cool and, you know, things are good between those studios and those teams. And speaking of things being cool, you have a chance to buy a PS5 over the holidays, maybe, sort of, if you're picked. This is kind of something that's happened before, but I did want to give a little PSA to it now. Sony initially had opened up this sort of registration of like you put your email in and maybe you can buy a console at launch or around that launch time. So some people are probably already in the system, but maybe if you forgot what that was or you never did that or you did it, but I'm trying to do it again and hopefully be able to register. You can head to PlayStation.com/ you know, whatever your region is. Look up PlayStation Register to buy. Link will be in the description below, where you can register for an opportunity to purchase a PS5 console. This coming holiday, we have a limited amount of PS5 consoles available for customers in the US to purchase direct from PlayStation. If you're interested in receiving an invitation, register below. With the selection criteria, just like last time, being based on previous interests and PlayStation activities, which everyone joked about, like, the real fans are going to get invited. But I don't know, I've seen people with, like, plenty of PlayStation activity not get invited. I've seen people with, like, a very normal amount of PlayStation activity get invited. If you get selected, you'll be contacted via email. It's worth knowing that if you receive an invitation, you are not guaranteed to be able to order the console, which is weird because it seems like this whole thing's supposed to be that. But each invitation is open for a limited time and quantities are limited per PSN ID. So I guess maybe that's just kind of to cover if you're trying to buy a second console, like they might not let you. It seems like you'll probably be pretty set, but that is something to be aware of. I will say this seems like it's limited to the US, though there is a note saying that as long as you ship it to a US address, that's fine. So maybe if you have a friend in the US, you could like ship it to them and they could ship it to you. It's all still very complicated, even this far out of the launch. So here's hoping those who are interested and still looking will be able to get their PS5 this holiday season. And now for game event recaps, let's talk about that Animal Crossing Direct, which to me, this is like the biggest thing that happened this week, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, as a big Animal Crossing fan. This thing blew me away. It was 20 minutes, but holy cow, was it jam-packed. The Animal Crossing Direct, to me, is a reminder that time feels differently at different times. You know what I mean? Like 5 minutes in line is different than, 5 minutes on a roller coaster ride is different than whatever. Like 20 minutes for a well-constructed Direct with exciting announcements. That's all the time you need. I looked up at the clock during this, like, wow, that was a wild Direct, and we were only halfway through it. Anyway, let's get into it. We have a free update and a paid update. So let's start with that free update, which is marked as version 2.0. Version 2.0 is a free update that drops on November 5th, and the thing we knew already was that Brewster and the Roost was coming back, so they opened with that. We learned that for 200 bells, you can buy a cup of coffee. While you're inside the Roost, you may run into other residents. You can also use amiibo cards to sort of scan and invite characters if you're choosing. Some of those may bring company with them, and you can also drink coffee with your friends as well. Cap'n boat tours are a thing. Those are going to cost 1,000 miles. When you go on those tours, you'll be serenaded with the song from Cap'n, and you'll be brought to an island that only Cap'n can bring you to, that has unique attributes such as a different time of day, different seasons, different resources you can find. The seasons thing is huge too, because it would allow you to sort of grind for materials in a way that was difficult before, because you'd need to go to an island that's in a different hemisphere or whatever. So I'm very excited about the idea of being able to access that. Harv's Island got a big update. It's no longer just a place to take weird photographs and okay, well, what are we really doing here? It's now going to have this big plaza area. There's going to be shops. You can donate to get more shops to appear. Some of the things that they lightly highlighted in this were that Sahara and Kix can set up shops, and those are visiting characters that stop by on your island from time to time, and Sahara has rugs and Kix has shoes. But I don't know if that means that they're always going to be present there. If they are, that's pretty cool, because then you could just shop all the time at will. One big thing from this too is that, was it Ceres and Reese? I'm never sure how to say their names, but they can customize stuff for you that you could normally not customize. So things like the lighthouse can get customized now. Katrina's back. A character from the old games will now tell your fortune every day. That's a really cool thing. Tortimer's there too, and helps deal with your storage when you're there at the time. Harriet's there, will give you a haircut, so now there's more haircuts unlocked, which, jumping ahead, there's 11 haircuts added total, new hairstyles. Some of those are from Harriet for how you get them. Other ones I think can just be bought from the kiosk. You can also now officially do group stretching and exercises with your villagers. This is really cute because, and this happens at the plaza, this to me makes it very clear that the developers are paying attention to the community. They know what we do, and we all like to go work out with our villagers. And what's fun is you can even use motion controls with this, which at first I was like, motion controls? But then I'm like, oh, well, that's cool, because then you can actually do the stretches. So it's a nice little workout you can do within this game, which for the Animal Crossing stands, the Ring Fit stands, the Wii Fit stands, this is awesome. This is just such a cool little addition into this game. One huge thing is ordinances are back. These are from New Leaf. And again, I'm not a longtime fan, but I've learned a lot from talking to other fans. So you can enact ordinances. So the one they highlighted was Early Bird, which lets residents wake up and be active earlier. I don't know for sure that this means the stores are open earlier, which it typically did in older games. I'm guessing that it does. They have other ordinances as well. They showed off the new house stuff that you have. You have more exterior options with different styles, which is really exciting. And your storage can now be expanded up to 3 more times, going all the way from the current max of 2,400 storage spaces to now 5,000 storage spaces. And the big thing was the update involving Nook Miles. So Nook Miles now has newly redeemable items, and the big deal ones are things like pro decorating, custom fencing, new reactions, pro construction, Island Life 101, Be a Chef DIY Plus, the pro camera app. So there's now cooking in this game, y'all. You can get tomatoes, you can have wheat, you can have potatoes, carrots, a bunch of other stuff. You can make things like veggie sandwiches. The animation for doing your cooking, it's giving Breath of the Wild energy. The food looks awesome. I'm not sure if the food ever goes bad is my one question. I'm guessing it doesn't ever go bad because I think it's meant for you can just place it out. And this is great for like you want to decorate your home space. You want to just like make these little cafes and restaurants, which is something that a lot of us have made in the game on our island. So I am obsessed with how many options we're going to have here. I've wanted cooking this thing for so long. The Pro Decorating license allows you to put lighting and shelves from the ceiling, which is really just going to change up how this space is made. Like, I'm so excited. The way things looked in this game is just so much more advanced from a sim aspect than it was before this update. You also can do things like have accent walls where one wall can have like a pink wallpaper and the other one has like a different wallpaper. So the design is really getting elevated. The Pro Construction license lets you increase your max bridges and inclines from 8 to 10, which is a small number, but every bridge and incline counts. We have things like new fencing. They show off park, block, corrugated iron fencing, large lattice fencing, log wall fencing, bamboo slates and green bamboo fencing, another kind of log fencing, and frozen fencing, which looks really dope. I'm obsessed with the frozen fencing. You can also now customize more of the fencing. And also, by the way, if you want to see what I'm talking about, you can go to the video version of this show and I'll show it off there. Let's talk about the Pro Camera app next. This is an update to the camera app where now you can have it in handheld mode, which is basically like a first person mode for everything. And then you can change it to tripod and like get in the picture yourself. Hopefully this makes it easier to take pictures with villagers. Like they'll understand that you're taking a photo of them, because how many times have we just ran into animals trying to get them together and it didn't work? Custom Design Patterns Plus offers the ability to take some of those custom design patterns that you got from like the Able sisters and allow you to wear it, but you can also use it as an accent. Now, my big question here is, can we use any custom design as an accent on a wall? Because if we can basically design our own wallpaper, which would be insane. Again, reminder that we had those new hairstyles, which the video is now showing the hairstyle portion of the whole thing. 11 new ones total, including the ones that you can get through Harriet. We got some new reactions. You know, these are cute. You got waving, you got the ability to stretch, you got the ability to do some other things. Now, maybe you're hearing about this and you're like, oh my God, I want to get into Animal Crossing now. This seems like a great time. I've been waiting, blah, blah, blah. But I'm overwhelmed. They got you. Island Life 101 is a new app that they're adding to the game that provides tips. This seems very beginner oriented. I will be surprised if there's anything for us like veteran players, but that's a cool thing. You can now redeem more items with your miles. And they added a lot of like carnival centric items, which again, I feel like they're very aware of the stuff that we're making in this game. And some quality of life updates that I really appreciated. You now have a storage shed. I'm guessing you can only have one. They only really showed off one, but you can put it anywhere outside your house, seemingly anywhere outside your house, and access your home inventory. Similarly, you can now also have an ABD ATM placed somewhere on your island, allowing you to easily access spells. Or maybe you can't place it anywhere. Maybe it's just by Nook's Cranny now that I think about it. But that's great because I'm tired of running to get my money out of resident services. KK Slider update, y'all. 12 more songs are being added, including KK Polka. We're also getting a music box item, which is like a new piece of furniture that you can play music off of. Gyroids are back. So the way this functions is you find gyroid fragments in the ground, then you can plant them, you water them. Apparently they make interesting sounds that can be combined in like different ways, and you can also customize them to like match your aesthetic. More furniture is getting added to Nook's Cranny, including items that have never before been seen in the franchise. Another big quality of life thing is you can now make a wooden ladder setup kit. This is something you can buy from Nook's Cranny and like learn how to make. And what this is it allows you to permanently place a ladder next to a cliff. When I tell you so many of my inclines are made specifically just so I can get around the elevated portions of my island, like this is going to totally revolutionize the way I think about designing the layout of my island. This is so desperately needed, and I'm so excited about it. I didn't even think to ask for that, even though it's kind of obvious of a need. You can also navigate tight spaces by like sliding through them. Now, at first when I saw this, I'm like, who cares? Why does this matter? But what it's great for is if you have a coffee table next to a sofa and you couldn't sit on the sofa, now you'll be able to kind of slide through. They also showed off Froggy Chair. That's crazy. They didn't even talk about Froggy Chair. They just had it in the background. That's how packed this was. And then the last thing from the free update is island villagers that you have can now invite you into their homes, and they can also stop by your home, which is cool. That's everything for the free portion of this content update. Again, this is a version 2.0, and they also said that you may experience the content in new various ways, some of which are just outside of what we've shown today. So we're going to have even more than what was shown in this, which I'm really excited to find out what that other stuff is. The one kind of bummer is this is the last major free content update. And I'm kind of like, whoa, last, where were the other ones? And here's the thing. They have updated this game. Like, they've done updates, and I've liked the update. Diving, a bunch of other stuff. Like, it's not like they haven't updated at all. But to me, this feels like the first time they've really come out and been like, here's our plans, here's what we're doing, here's what we have for you in a big way. So for this to be like, it felt like it was going to be the start, and for it to be the end is kind of a bummer. But you know what? I'm still excited about everything. And we don't just have that free update. We also have Happy Home Paradise, which is paid DLC that comes out that same day. I'm so excited it's out the same day as the free stuff. It is $24.99, or again, you can get it via the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack bundle as also an option. So let's get into that paid DLC. You're out here, you're going to work. You go up to Orville and you're like, I want to go to work. And you get to go to work. What is that work, you may ask? Well, you'll be a resort developer designing vacation homes for these animals. And y'all, this is Happy Home Designer meets New Horizons. It's Happy Home Paradise, and I'm excited about it. Let's talk about what we get out of this. So again, your goal is to help characters acquire their dream vacation homes. So it is very Happy Home Designer. They'll have things that they're looking for. You basically get linked up with a client, essentially. They'll tell you kind of what they want in their home. And here's how the process generally works. First, you select an island for the vacation home, and there's different terrain, including desert, which I'm really excited to see as a new one. I don't know if there's any other newer type of terrain. I mean, there's one that's icy, but that's basically winter, right? So you do that, and then you go inside and you place the designated furniture. So there will be furniture you have to set up, and then everything else is pretty free form on how you want to do it. There is recommended furniture sort of flagged to you, but how you want to decorate it is pretty much up to you at that point. So you get it looking all cute, then you head to the yard. And for this outside decor, you're basically a god out here. You can lay down fencing super easily. You can pick up trees with the cursor. You can change the size of the trees. You can put down pathing super easily from an overhead perspective. You can move the house physically yourself. It is very much some of the stuff that people want in the main game, but I get maybe they don't want you to be too powerful. And then you can select everything. You can select the season, the time of day, the weather even, really to give it the exact vibe that you want it to look like. But the really big thing here to me is that while you're playing this DLC, you can acquire various design techniques. And these techniques you can bring to your home island once you learn them. So there are things like adjusting the size of the interior to make rooms bigger. You can add partition walls to the area. You can put, instead of just putting with a simple panel to try to create that, you can add real partition walls to it. You can put in pillars. You can do different color lighting. So kind of like that RGB light, Philips Hue light style situation. You can do soundscapes. You can put counters at 2 different heights. You can just make this house look so freaking good. You can also get the ability to polish furniture, and polishing the furniture sort of gives it special properties. We see things like polishing some plants and then there's butterflies by it, or polishing something and it glistens or glitters. So we'll see how that ends up, changing things or making things look cooler. You also earn a currency specific to that kind of island DLC, and you can use that to buy stuff that you can't either get on your island or can't easily get on your island. And then you can bring that stuff back to your home island as well. You can implement other lifestyle ideas, you can suggest that 2 characters room together, which is really cool. And you can always go back and remodel people's houses that you've modeled before. There's also designing facilities, which is huge. Apparently there's a bunch of just empty buildings on this resort island area, home base. I don't know. Don't think about it too much. The point is you can design stuff like schools. You can make a whole little university classroom layout. You can design a freaking restaurant. How many poor restaurants have I made on my home island? So many. so many attempts. You can make a hospital. Like, I am so excited to just make everything that this game allows me to create. You can also post those creations onto like the Happy Home Network app, and then you can like view other people's creations and like get inspiration for it. Of course, there's Amiibo integration where you can like use an Amiibo card to like design for a certain character, including visiting characters like Isabel, which is kind of cool. And here's the big deal here, the stuff that carries over to the home game. Again, you can take, when you learn like these design techniques of putting the partition, the pillars, the counters, all that stuff, you can take that and bring it to your home islands. You can go back and make like the best home that you've ever had. You can also give your villagers gifts that you bought at that island and then get them interested in a vacation home and your services. And then lastly, after you design a certain number of villager like vacation homes, villagers like that are on your island, you can suggest that you like remodel their home and they'll let you redesign their home, which is huge because some of these villager houses are ugly, they ugly and the ugly. And I've been wanting to change them for so long, or stuff like a lot of people complained about your original villagers. They have that ugly starter house. Like if I could fix that home, like that's all I want to do. Like, that's all I just want to get that done. So I'm so excited to get this DLC. And you know me, y'all, I'm not a big DLC person. I'm not that into DLC. But for this, yes. 100% yes. 100% yes. Let's talk about game releases and updates, which you can argue the Animal Crossing thing is one big update, but that's sort of more tied to events for me. But I do want to give a shout out to Operation Tango, which is giving free DLC to all players. It reads, put your communication skills to the ultimate test in our new challenge mode. The free DLC is available now and is completely crossplay. Operation Tango is a game you may already own if you download all the PS Plus games, but maybe you didn't get to it yet. Go play Operation Tango. It's awesome. I had so much fun. I honestly had more fun playing Operation Tango and then playing It Takes Two, which is a hot take. I know it's a hot take, but I had a blast with this game, and I highly recommend it. And lastly, for the Shut Up and Take My Money section, the Xbox Mini Fridge, we've talked about it before, is finally here, y'all. It's finally on its way. Preorder is about to open up. At least in terms of the US, it is through Target. I think Canada, it's going to be through like the Xbox Gear Store or something. It's $99. Apparently it holds 12 cans. I don't really know the specifics on the dimension, but it also has the option to be USB powered if you want to use it on the go, whatever that means. Limit one per guest, of course. And like when I tell you I really want this fridge and I have no need for it or place to store it, and I'm not gonna be able to get it, but like I don't know, I might figure something out to have this fridge in my life. Like I don't want to miss this opportunity. It just seems really cool and really cute and silly and like a fun moment in history. Like, I don't know. I'm into it. I want it. I want to be about it. But if you're about it, head to Target, pre-order it. I believe the pre-orders open up on October 19th is when pre-orders open up. So see if you can get that mini fridge if you're interested in it. And those are all the stories we have for this week. Thank you so much for watching over on youtube.com/Gameonysus. Be sure to like, subscribe, tap the bell, and leave a comment below with your thoughts on the show and this week's stories. And for listening on podcast services, be sure to leave a review if possible because it helps the show a whole lot. I was looking on the stuff for Apple, and I see I think there's 24 reviews that are already there, and it's still our first year. So I think that's a really great number, and I would love to see more of them. So please go drop me a review. I will absolutely be reading those ones that come through. And as always, a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. You too can join over on patreon.com/Gameonysus. We have rewards as low as the $1 all the way up to the $25. It helps make this show possible, and I appreciate that a whole lot. And of course, you can get early access to this podcast if you are on Patreon. And as always, I will see y'all here next time. Bye.